3D games, photos, entertainment, and more. No glasses required. Nintendo 3DS.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, what do I have here but a huge stack of Nintendo 3DS games? Why am I buying these, you may be wondering? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Nintendo 3DS eShop is closing down on March 27th. It's actually one of the rare times we've broke character, if you will, here on Retro Rebound and made more of a ranty video than actually celebrating video games. But ladies and gentlemen, with the eShop closing down, prices are naturally going to go up, artificially so, might I add, and Nintendo is foolish for doing this. And the reason they're doing this is to push you into Nintendo Switch Online, which is where they're making their backwards compatibility available moving forward. I find this greatly disappointing because I feel like Nintendo's always offered great backwards compatibility, whether it was the Wii or the Wii U and so on and so forth. I just always thought they did a good job. To see them go this route and close down the eShop, I saw it happen with PlayStation, where when the Vita store and the PS3 store were closing down, the prices of games flew up. I remember seeing Jack and Daxter collection for 20 bucks and the next day it went up to 60. So people are absolutely going to take full advantage of this. That's why I started preparing once I heard the news and got by buying in nice and early. So I got a nice stack of games for those of you who waited it out to see what I would suggest you pick up as the shops close down. What's also unfortunate about this, and I just want to make sure this is known, is that there's digital exclusive content that'll never be available again. And I just find, as someone who's a big believer, clearly by the nature of this channel with the complete box experience, a big believer in, immortalizing video games, always remembering them, not erasing our history, to see that history will in fact be erased outside of YouTube videos. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is a little bit of a buying guide. If you're new here and you're into nostalgic retrospective or money spending videos, then consider subscribing. Let's begin with my first recommendation. We're gonna get a little obscure to start things off and then generalize as we get deeper into the video. What do I mean by obscure? Let's talk a bit about Professor Layton. New one was announced for Nintendo Switch, so what we have here for the 3DS is the Miracle Mask Entry. Now there's a Nintendo DS line and there is a 3DS line for the story. I know some people who are big Professor Layton fans are gonna look at this and go, why are you starting here, Maddie? It's a couple of reasons. Number one, affordability. This game only ran me $70, which is a lot for a 3DS game. Do not get me wrong there. It's almost double the value of when the game came out. But when you look at the rest of the Professor Layton series, you'll understand what I'm talking about here. So the back of the box does say, solve puzzles to solve the mystery. And here on the inside, you'll get a feel for that level 5 art, baby. I mean, you can see it right on the cover of the manual. It's just fantastic. And right open on the first panel here, get ready for this. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Huge fan of what they're doing here. And just the art style alone pulled me into this series. I love the back of this even. Very Studio Ghibli-esque, if you will, which makes sense because Studio Ghibli actually did help make one of the level 5 games, being Ni no Kuni, which I think is fantastic. But I did try Professor Layton many years ago now, and I did not get into it. But as someone who now loves visual novels, I love the occasional puzzle game, like Zero Escape is a good example. I personally felt, okay, I think if I gave Professor Layton another try, I'd really enjoy it. Is this the best starting point? From what I read online, you actually can enjoy this without having any prior story context. But of course, with any series of multiple entries, you're gonna appreciate it more if you have more time in it. But given that this is one I saw was gonna go up even more in price after the eShops closed, I thought, you know what, I'm not waiting any longer. I'm gonna spring for this one. A little expensive, yes, but I anticipate it going up. So, with that, we move into JRPGs. If you watched what happened with the Vita store and the PS3 store, you know the collections were targeted as artificial price hikes, so your Ratchet and Clanks, your Sly Coopers, that type of stuff, and then JRPGs got targeted like that. And so, of course, we gotta bring one out. This one I paid 60 bucks for. This is Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked. Anytime I talk about SMT, whether it's my love of SMT5, which was a top 5 game of the year for me the year it came out, or I spoke about SMT4 Apocalypse here on the channel, everyone always says, you gotta try Devil Survivor. You gotta try Devil Survivor. It's all I ever hear is how good Devil Survivor is. Now, Overclocked, as the back of the box says, is one of 2009's best RPGs, returns to Tokyo in the midst of a lockdown. So it's a re-release, a remake, if you will, of the original game. And you'll see here, when you crack this open, this has got to be the thickest 3DS manual of all time. I am not joking. I know sometimes I like to sell it. This is a 3DS manual. This is what we call the Bible, right, in the real world. This is a manual, though. Look at this. It's a flip book, for God's sakes. That's insane. Oh my, I'm freaking out. I'm literally freaking. Look at that. That's manual, dude. Wow. So that's a book you can read one night if you choose to. But anyway, I picked this one up because I always hear about it. I always am told how good it is. And after I really enjoyed SMT 5, I know that was a little bit more accessible and it blended in some of that Persona flair. All I hear is how great the story is in this game. And if I end up liking it, there is the sequel. So it's kind of, to me, all right, I got it on a fair deal, $60. I'm gonna try it out. If I love it, I'll pick up the second one, probably at a premium, but at least here I'm committing to something on a good deal before I likely pay a lot for the next entry. So that's one pickup. And for my Dragon Ball fans out there, you know we talk a lot about anime video games here on Retro Rebound, so of course we gotta get one involved. Dragon Ball Fusions. When I picked this up in 2020 during the pandemic, it ran me about $20. It's about double that now before the eShop prices even went up. And I bought it because when I first played this game and ended up trading it into GameStop, and they stole some of my soul, of course, but now I'm getting them back all these years later. Dragon Ball Fusions was one of those games I wish I still had in my collection. So when I was restoring my collection, this was one of my first pickups, absolutely. I love Dragon Ball Fusion. So it is a complete in-box game, and it says, power up for maximum fusion. And here you'll see, boom, manual. Is the manual flashy? No, unfortunately not. Yeah, just nice black and white, lots of warnings inside there. But still, this game is great because, as the title will suggest, it's all about fusions. So you're gonna find one of my favorite examples. If anyone's ever spoken to me about this game, you'll hear me say this example every time, but I love it. You'll have Nappa and Raditz, and they come together to make Naditz. So it's no longer just like Trunks and Gotenks confuse. Anyone can fuse, and you can make some monstrous combinations and some hilarious ones at that. And that's what makes this game so special. It's got this Pokemon collecting aspect to it, where you're gonna go around and collect all the Dragon Ball characters, but then the evolving is mixing them together into characters that you would never expect to be one before. And I love that loop. When you combine that with this turn-based RPG aspect where you're in this ring and you can knock enemies out of the ring to insta-kill them, and there's these chain attacks you can do. There's a lot of depth and strategic elements to the combat that make it highly interactive and extremely fun to play. Plus, it's a meaty video game. It took me about 40 hours to beat, and there was so much endgame content afterwards. There's so many secret fights, secret unlocks, secret fusions. It's a gamer's game, man. And if you love Dragon Ball, you owe it to yourself to play Fusions. This is one of the most underrated video games in the Dragon Ball series, as far as I'm concerned, if not the most underrated. All right, so those are kind of my weird picks, if you will, the more obscure ones and a little bit pricier. And these kind of start to ebb into the cheaper area, where we're going to get into next, depending on where you shop and where you pick it up, and where from, I should say. What do I mean by that? Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I'm planning to have a video about this series out around the Mario movie. I already have the Game Boy Advance version complete in box, but we had to get to ensure, as we always do with Retro Rebound, that historic deep dive. I wanted to make sure I picked up the 3DS version, which also has Bowser's Minions. So now, the back of the box, it says, a righteous reimagining of the Mario and Luigi RPG that started it all. And here it says the plot thickens in Minion Quest. This is the added content. Our brave hero is a Goomba. Why not? Reunite the minions and battle for glory of Bowser. And here you'll see not a manual, unfortunately, but what I want to point out with this copy here is you're going to see here on the bottom right. So I bought this game sealed. I unsealed it for the video because I'm not big on sealed games, if you don't know, and I don't see the point in collecting them. But respect to those of you who do. But you'll see here, there's this little circle, and it says Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Singapore, official product. This is what we call a global release. If you're a purist and you want the first print, it's not going to have this here. Keep that in mind. It does knock the value down a little bit. I know I'm typically a stickler for that type of stuff. I don't care all that much, so I imagine not many of you would end up, but just in case you're wondering, because we do have another game here we're gonna get into, which is Zelda, and you'll see I have this here as well. Am I gonna pretend I knew about this when I bought them? No, but I got both of these sealed for $40. And to me, not having to worry about, GameStop man juice on my eBay copies was great. So I was like, all right, sealed. I got a little stamp there. It's the global product. You can actually take a look here at the the number here between the barcodes. That'll tell you what print this was. So this was the third print for Mario and Luigi. And you'll see here with Zelda Link Between Worlds, this was the 9th print. So this one's definitely nowhere close to print 1. But if that stuff matters to you, go for it. I know some people kind of treat it like trading cards, so that stuff matters. For me, less so. I can deal with that type of stuff. Just make sure I don't catch any type of greatest hits on my complete box copies. That's all. But anyway, I picked this one up because when I played it on Nintendo Switch Online, go figure the reason we're probably making this video, I really loved the charm and the humor of the Mario and Luigi RPG. And so I wanted to get involved with that, play it before the movie drops, because I am looking forward to the movie and kind of have a video ready for you all on that day. So I'm really excited about that one. And so I picked it up on 3DS for a pretty good deal, I'd say, because you may or may not know, based off, we'll get into this next game now, Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. Your boy, yeah, he's kind of behind on some of the popular Nintendo games. I think that's kind of the lifeblood of Retro Rebound. I've said it before. I think it works in our favor because there's so much stuff I've missed, and I'm clearly like in love with video games. So it's not like I'm skipping it out of ignorance. I just didn't have the money. And so now I'm lucky enough through your support here to be able to pick these games up and play them at my leisure and talk about them with all of you in this retrospective style review content. And so yeah, I'm picking up more of your classics, if you will, more of the must-own collection. These aren't your super niche picks here, but to me, I think they're important to get because when you look at old Nintendo consoles and how much the Hallmark games go for, they're typically the ones that go up the most. Yeah, of course, you'll have your more obscure ones here that are definitely going to go up in value, don't get me wrong. But things like A Link Between Worlds, which is still only available on 3DS, I think is definitely going to go up as well. So like I said, I bought this one complete sealed for 40 bucks. It is a global one. The back of the box says, a new adventure in the beloved world of Hyrule. And now, here we see nothing for the manual, unfortunately. But it also says, explore Hyrule made famous in The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, then travel to a new world that's on the brink of disaster. A Link to the Past is one I actually did play a little bit of when I was younger. Unfortunately, never finished it, which seems to be a problem with me in Zelda games. But I'm working on it, and we're working on content for that as well. We got a lot of fun playing for the first time videos on the way in the next 2 months that I'm really stoked for. But this one I really want to get into because of that art style. I just love the idea behind it, where you could like turn into Link against the wall, and it's more like almost cave painting style, if you will. I just really appreciate that a lot. So I picked this one up because I have missed out on so many Zelda games. So now I have this along with Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time in my collection. So completing that Zelda 3DS collection. There's still more. Like I got to get the Triforce game or whatever it's called. I gotta figure out what's been going on with Zelda lately. It's the multiplayer one. Of course, we can't do these videos without Pokemon. Pokemon is a guaranteed, this is gonna go up in value type of product. I gotta remove this sticker, but you can see here, I paid 30 bucks for this at my local game shop. An Ancient Power Reawakens. Many of you already know that Emerald is my favorite Pokemon game of all time. Absolutely love Emerald. You'd think I'd love the remake and already had in my collection, but I just think I'm so much more of an art style driven guy than I want to recognize I am, because when I played this game, I got bored to tears really fast. And I'm like, it's the same game, Maddie, what's wrong with you? But man, I just couldn't get into the 3D style Emerald world. It killed me, but you'll see here, it's much of the same in the terms of electronic manual style complete in box copy. So it's complete in air quotes, but nothing that's gonna blow your socks off here. But with Pokemon, these things are always guaranteed to go up in value. So I would recommend at least scooping up one of your favorites if you have yet to, because everything I've ever seen, I mean, I collect Pokemon cards, so I see everything Pokemon goes up eventually. It's one of the few guarantees in this world. Life, death, taxes, Pokemon games going up in value. All right. Luigi's Mansion. We played the first one for the first time here on the channel. We got the sequel here for Dark Moon. We're going to talk about this probably in October, I imagine, because I had a lot of fun going back to the original, so I want to go back to this one. One of the few Nintendo games Maddie didn't miss. Hello! Surprise, I know, but I really love Luigi's Mansion. I love it so much. I played the original for the first time, but I do love what I played of the series. 3 is fantastic. Dark Moon's fantastic. I got this one for about 25 bucks. Not too bad of a price to pay. It says on the back of the box, can Luigi summon the courage to save Evershade Valley? And you'll see here, we do have a cool instruction booklet that I like a lot. This is something you'll see in a couple of these copies Nintendo did. Yeah, they kind of had this foldable manual. Some may ask, Maddie, as a complete in-box aficionado, is this something you approve of? Yes, I don't mind the efficiency. Just put color on the dang thing. But Luigi's Mansion is a ton of fun. This version I don't expect to ever be ported off of the Switch, so I think it's one of those safe buys. And I should have mentioned that with most of this stack we've gone through so far, is I don't anticipate really any of these games being ported. Maybe Zelda, maybe, oops, I dropped it. Maybe Alpha Sapphire, like, oh my God, I can't hold on to it. I swear, it's not slippery, it's just me being clumsy. But maybe those two. Otherwise, though, I don't see any of these being ported, and that's why I think you should invest in your collection, because you know, a lot of these games are going to be stuck. I don't anticipate most of them coming to Switch here. Let's talk about one that seems to be a 3DS darling that I know very little about outside of, oh, I like that character in Smash. That's Kid Icarus Uprising. You'll see here I paid 35 bucks for it. It's definitely not going for that now. From what I've seen online, it is going for much, much more. You'll see here on the back of the box, sweep the heavens, scourge the earth. Every time I read about this game, every time, it's how good it is, how slept on it is. And I think the price point is starting to reflect that as it goes up and up way beyond what I paid for at 35 bucks at a local game shop. I love what this complete box copy did, where you see the illustrations of Pit through the little holes that you'll even see, like, for example, in Luigi's Mansion and all these 3DS games, you'll see these little boxes here. But when they get crafty with them, like they did here with Kid Icarus and one other we'll show in this video, I really like that. I believe this is another one that does unfold like I was showing you earlier. It does. And I like this. It kind of reminds me of almost an instruction manual poster, which I thought was pretty cool. And here it shows all the weapon categories and how you attack and move and all that stuff. It looks like a really good time. So it's one I'm definitely going to get around to eventually, but that backlog continues to grow and I'm totally fine with it. I'm very excited about this one. But this is one I would definitely keep an eye on, because that's a Nintendo series that doesn't get a lot of love. So out of everything I've shown you, from Pokemon to Zelda and so on and so forth, this one probably has the strongest chance of really continuing to go up in value. So get your complete in box as soon as possible or download it, whatever you prefer. Speaking of Pokemon from earlier, forgot we had this one. Detective Pikachu. Kind of a slept-on game. If you're trying to buy a Pokemon investigation game for the youngin', this is a good pick. It's about 10 hours long. It's not as dark as a Danganronpa. It's very lighthearted. In fact, it's not super complex. It's simple. It's fun. I enjoy it. You sometimes may see people asking, hey, Maddie, what do you do with things like this here? Like, oh, do you just throw it away? The answer is no. I don't want to be wasteful. And I have a video idea for all of this stuff GameStop has sent me over the last couple of years, right? And what I do is, for games I do like, or I do have experiences with, or I see manuals and boxes available online, is I will buy the case and manual and boom, complete the game just like that. And so it's a hard, expensive way of going about it, because, for example, the cartridge for Detective Pikachu at GameStop ran me 40 bucks. Yeah, that's how much a complete box copy goes for. So I had to pay an additional like 20, 25 for the case and manual, because most people aren't doing that. They don't sell it piecemeal, so it's kind of more expensive at times, which stinks. But this is a game that I do have a lot of love for. I've only played it through once, but if you like a kind of cool Pokemon mystery that, by the way, doesn't really feed off anything in the movie, it's very separate from the rest, which I appreciate, you may enjoy this quite a bit. So go ahead and pick that one up. And the last one I want to show off, again, much of what I mentioned earlier about, oh, what do you do with those 3DS games that are just lying about? Even if you don't like it, you complete it. So here we got Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. This is one I'm not going to recommend. Not because I don't like the game. Maybe one day we'll get into that. Complete box copy is mad nice, though. You got a really good manual here, illustrated. You got the illustrated backdrop here. Love to see all of that. But the reason I wouldn't recommend this one as the off-center case here, yeah, look at that. Not even closing all the way. Come on now. Anyway, the reason I wouldn't recommend this one is because on the PS4, on the Xbox, you got the complete Saga, you've got 2.8 Remix. Like, there's so many better ways to play with dual stick involvement that makes it even better to play, that there's no reason for you to go back and get this on 3DS unless you want to collect them all. And as a Kingdom Hearts fan, I do want to have all the original games. Like I already have 1 and 2 complete on PS2 with the black label. So I'm going to continue to collect them just because I want to have the original preserved. But you probably, if you want to play this game at some point, don't want to get it on the 3DS. There's no need whatsoever. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is the collection of games I wanted to show off here for all of you. A couple of unique ones, a couple of obvious ones, but overall just trying to put some stuff on your radar here because I do anticipate eBay sellers, Mercari sellers are going to see these prices and go whoop with them once the shop closes down. So right now is a good time to probably get in, make those final purchases. If you don't care about complete box copies, go ahead and download them because once you can't download them, that's it forever. Nintendo's not going to reverse course on this despite all of the outcry over the last year or so. Since their announcement, they've definitely given us plenty of time to prepare. So if you're late on this one, that's the only thing I can say Nintendo didn't do wrong. They did warn us a decent amount of time ahead so you could start collecting if you so desire. Not that that was their primary reason, but at least we had time before the artificial price hikes came in. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, what are you picking up? Because I'm still shopping, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you're suggesting. I'll be at PAX East, so if I see any 3DS games for a good price, I will likely be picking them up. But I'm curious what you're getting and if you're picking up anything I recommended here today. So fire away, and with that, I will catch all of you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.